There's like a rap show or something going on outside. That's downtown living.
Yeah, I'm right.
Anyway, it's time for another Canadian computer collector, and today we're working on a Performa 6200 CD. Now, this machine was donated to the channel, and I'm very appreciative of that fact. If you have any old machines that you're looking to give away,
let's talk.
It had telltale signs of being stored in someone's garage or like a shed or something for a long time, but I wanted to restore this machine nonetheless. A little bit of rust has never been a challenge so far on this channel, and I figured let's take it to the next level to a point where I hate myself. Bit of a bigger machine with more metal components than this is not important. So you may ask yourself, why would I fix something like this when really the value of a Performa 6200 CD is not exactly, top shelf? It's really a question of morals. This is a computer that clearly compulord has gotten his hands on and instilled evil rust into the metal, and I think those machines are worth saving. Even though some people might look at them and go, woof. I look at it as well. I say woof and then I go, meow. Think about how much potential this thing could have. Even that's not that exciting. Nonetheless, who gives a shit? We're gonna restore this computer, and that's just the way it is. So don't forget to like and subscribe before we get going. And that's it. Well, let's just fix this computer. Sounds like something's going on, or it's trying to at least. Monitor, I think, might be dead as well. Lovely. And we'll try hitting power from back here, maybe. Yeah, we got some real problems here. Test, test. Am I right? Time for some more voiceover action. So first things first in taking this thing apart is to remove all of the visible screws on the back of the machine. This is going to let us slide some of that plastique out, but moreover, it's going to let us slide the logic board out with a little bit of force. Legit pretty excited about this motherboard. It's not that bad at first glance. Let's dig in deeper. Alright, so this is definitely good considering how rusty the exterior is, and I can see here the type of battery my 6500 would have had. But I think this is just dirty. Questing further into the machine, we have to remove some screws, and when you remove screws, don't forget to label them. That's the most important thing you can do. Anyway, front plate comes off and we can unplug the hard drive and the floppy and pull out the floppy as well as the hard drive. Now the optical's supposed to slide out relatively easy, but as you can see I'm trying everything to get it out and it's just not happening. So I gave up. Instead I pulled the lid off, decided to go further in. Wow, this thing is a mess. If it's all just the metal, I mean, we can fix that. But it is definitely a mess. I can't get that CD drive out yet, so hopefully we can pull apart the chassis a bit more to get that thing out. So, 2 screws on the rear come off. Quick little rust dust vacuum. Get rid of some of that awfulness that makes it look like it came from the depths. Side panels slide off relatively easy, and wow, looks even more like the Titanic on this side. So, now we have to disconnect the top of the chassis from the frame, which is just not happening. You can see I'm trying everything here, but you know what? A little hammer is what it took in the end. I'm not Russian, I'm Ukrainian, but we can appreciate a good hammer. Alright, admittedly, looking inside, it's a lot cleaner than I thought it would be. It's not perfect, but based on the rust we were seeing, I thought it would be a lot worse. This is a power supply. So next up we're going to remove the optical drive, disconnect the power supply, pull out a screw, move a ribbon cable, remove a grommet, another screw, and that's kind of the gist of the whole thing. I mean, we're pulling this thing apart. Look at how rusty this actually looks, though. When you get up close, it's just disgusting. Anyway, we're going to pry out the rest of that wiring harness chassis piece, get rid of the speaker, fan shroud, pull a screw out of the display board, and getting closer to freeing up the power supply, but I want to pull out this bracket, so we got to remove the display board, and then the bracket itself, and then the power supply. Quick vacuum to get rid of all the dust that showed itself after everything else came out of the machine. Nice and clean. Remove the plastic bracket, and then next up was this thing, which was awful, because it was glued in place with a really serious adhesive, and not even really, the heat gun didn't really do much there. What I had to do was just pry it gently and gently and gently, and it still broke a little bit, so a little bit of super glue, and she fit right back in place. Now it's time to move on to the sanding, and ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of footage of sanding, so I've decided that instead of trying to explain every single shot of me sanding, I'll be reading from the 1984 hit movie Ghostbusters. This is from the opening scene in the library. Venkman. Alice, I'm going to ask you a couple of standard questions, okay? Have you or any of your family ever been diagnosed schizophrenic, mentally incompetent? Alice. My uncle thought he was St. Jerome. Peter made a face. Venkman. I'd call that a big yes. Are you habitually using drugs, stimulants, alcohol? Alice. No. Venkman. No, just asking. Are you, Alice, menstruating right now? Roger Delacourt. What has that got to do with it? Venkman. Back off, man. I'm a scientist. Egon entered the office and interceded. Spangler. Ray, it's moving. Come on. Egon came down the stairs to the basement stacks first and had out his PKE meter. Ray was close behind him with the camcorder. Egon was serious and focused. Peter came down last, lacking any interest and rolling his eyes. He started to make scary hand gestures at Ray. They found an incredibly tall stack of books in an aisle. Stance. Look! Egon swept his PKE meter around the stack. Spangler. This is hot, Ray. Stance. Symmetrical book stacking, just like the Philadelphia mass turbulence of 1947. Venkman. You're right, no human being would stack books like this. Ray suddenly turned. Stance. Listen! The score shifted to an eerie piano tune. Stance. Do you smell something? Peter sniffed the air. They came across the card catalog that Alice ran away from. Cards were still all over the place. Clear ectoplasm was strewn all about. Stance. Talk about telekinetic activity. Look at this mess. Egon zeroed in on the ectoplasm. Spangler. Raymond, look at this. Alright, on to the sink. We're here in the kitchen getting ready to wash up the parts we just sanded, because when you sand something down that you intend to paint, it has to be clean before you do so. Now we're going to go ahead and give everything a really good scrub here, but one of the most important parts of dealing with rust is sanding it down, obviously, cleaning it up afterward, but then also drying it as soon as possible, because bare metal, especially metal that had rust already, is especially susceptible to rusting. So if you leave water on a spot that you just cleaned rust off of for, any reasonable length of time, you're in trouble, sister. So what we're doing right now is just wiping all the water off that we can, and then setting these things up to air dry for a little bit, just to really make sure that everything's all good before we paint. I'm saying. One thing I forgot to do is remove the feet and the glue, so we don't need to wash it again, but we can scrape the feet out and put a little lighter fluid in there to make sure there is no residue remaining. How's it going, gang? Mr. Fahrenheit is in the lobby right now to pick up a couple logic boards for me from the 6200 and the 6500. Let's go see him! These are the two lucky individuals heading on over to Fahrenheit Town. We'll just chuck them in this large Costco box as best as we can. And we're off. Like a turd of hurdles. Let's hope it's not locked. Sometimes I leave the keys inside. Yeah, we're good. All right, time for the secret handoff.
Awesome.
This is Mr. Fahrenheit's hand and shoe. And his other hand.
$10 royalty per second per view.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to do some accounting. And it's back to the sink again. Or as Eminem once said, back to the lab again, yo. And you don't, you better lose yourself. And let's just say I did lose myself in scrubbing and rinsing these plastic pieces. I didn't show all the plastic getting scrubbed, all the small parts. I mean, who really cares? Frankly, who really cares about this part, if we're being honest, but I figured I wouldn't make you watch all of it. Anyway, super duper rinse, and off to the drying station. Now, there is a metal shield on this one, so I blew it out with the airbrush, but the rest of the stuff was not quite as important to get all the moisture out of, so I just gave them a light dry. A nice little pat down, one might say. A nice little...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my bedroom where we are going to be spray painting computer chassis parts. Luckily there's not too many of them, so hopefully it won't take too long. But breathing in this mask actually sucks. Anyway, let's get to it. Shall we?
Honestly, as much as I said it sucks breathing in that mask, I didn't smell any paint while wearing it. And let me tell you, the smell of paint in that room was heavy. I did not sleep in my bedroom the night after I did all of this painting. I just left the window open with a fan. And before anyone mentions a screen, it's a screen. It can be easily replaced nice and cheap. And to be honest, I've been waiting 2 years for a bathroom fan from my landlord, so let's just say I care about that screen as much as he cares about my bathroom fan. Anyway, it worked out well in the end. As you can see, the finished product is nice and smooth and coated in a light gray dusting of Rust-Oleum-style spray paint. This is the kind of stuff that should keep it safe going into the future, at least for, a good period of time. So what will happen next, you ask? Well, we have reached an impasse. Essentially, I've broken down the computer, sanded down the frame, painted it, and we're just waiting to get the motherboard recapped by my man, Mr. Fahrenheit, and that's going to allow us to start troubleshooting. So knowing that the board actually works will give us the ability to go, is this a power supply issue? I hope it's not a power supply issue, because I love power supplies. I just stood up for no reason and then sat back down again. I'd also like to give a shout out to my man Wayno, who does not live in Texas. He is an Australian. Wayne, I want to say thank you so much for the donation to the channel this week through Buy Me a Coffee. If you're interested in supporting the channel, check out the link below. But further to that, Wayne, you've been a regular supporter of this channel since we started offering the Buy Me a Coffee link, and your enthusiasm and gusto for life are unmatchable in this dark, dark world that we live in. The mere fact that you're willing to donate to an independent, unmonetized YouTube channel just speaks volumes about who you are as a person and a god. And I hope that one day a wizard grants you wishes 3. Or even 5, because I think you earned it, bud. Stay tuned. This is just part 1. We've got parts ordered already and in the mail. One of them coming from France. And the plan for this machine is to get it all assembled back together, looking clean and pretty and ready to go to the prom. That might be 2 weeks from now, depending on when the parts show up. Nonetheless, cool things will continue to happen on this channel, I swear to God. I am the Canadian Computer Collector, and your time is most appreciated. So thank you. And,